Let's Talk Crown Rules with our host Quentin Ford and myself, Julia Dozier. I am the author of 2 books focused on the health and well-being of relationships within the Black community. My first published book, Crown Rules, One Woman's Journey to the Throne, is an explorative journey into the heart, mind, and soul of a woman. It is designed for the rebuilding of a woman's self-identity, her purpose, and her vision for her future. The book contains journaling exercises for her to document her transformation on her journey to the throne. The second edition will be available in 2021. My current book release, Crown Rules 2, How Black Men Love, is purposed to provide healing and restoration to the relationships we conduct within our race by establishing first and foremost that Black men do love. The book contains interviews held with 10 Black men at different ages and stages of their lives. They share the meaning, perspective, and their experience of love in their own words. Each week, Quentin and I look forward to discussing the book and one of the 13 questions asked of each man. And we invite you, our audience, to share your questions, your thoughts, your experience, and your wisdom as we journey through Black love. So sit back, relax, and let's talk Crown Rules. Please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe.
Hey, good evening, Facebook, YouTube, and Periscope, as well as our other streaming platforms. Happy Thursday, Julia.
Happy Thursday, Quentin.
How
are you tonight?
I'm all right. How's everything?
Everything is beautiful. Everything is beautiful. Happy it's Thursday. Happy to be here.
And we're on week 8. Week 8, question number 7. How do you know it's time to commit to a woman? I found the answers rather interesting, so to say. I mean, it was kind of this was the question where I think our illustrious 10 brothers were kind of evasive.
I believe so too.
I praise them for their truthfulness and transparency. And I told you, I don't read the book straight through. I go question to question, sort of like we're doing a show, and then I go over it again 2 or 3 times. So I thought this question was kind of the evasive one. Most said it was easy, but when you look at what we would consider commitment shouldn't be easy. Some things should be talked about prior to the commitment. One gentleman I noticed, he has said something about when the female initiates it, and this is like what I would consider today, maybe not in the past, today, something bad, because she shouldn't have to be the one to decide whether it's time to commit. It's to be something done collectively.
Absolutely.
So I know you told me you was fired up for this one because you doing these interviews, it allows you to either go over your notes, go back into the book, and really like reassess the whole picture gets painted in your head of when you ask these questions.
Yes.
Good evening, Nicole. Good evening,
Hi,
Nicole. Appreciate you, Nicole. I know that you purchased the book. You shared it.
Yes.
We hope that you like the book, Nicole.
Thank you.
It is very, very interesting book. Definitely give Julia some of your thoughts on the book, Nicole, as well as myself. We'd like to know how you feel about the book so far.
Absolutely.
So you was fired up, huh, Jules?
Absolutely, Quentin. I was fired up, and what I appreciate about our show is that usually we are right in alignment with what is actually happening in the world. And earlier this week, I had the opportunity to, good evening, Joel. I had the opportunity to see the interview between Kevin Samuels and a young lady that had called into his show who wanted to know how she could attract the type of man that she was looking for. And the type of man that she was looking for, all that I heard was someone who made $100,000 or more. Like in terms of compatibility, that's what she was looking for. And she talked about how when she dated down, And I don't know what that means. But when she dated down, she found that the men were interested in helping her with her business and that they may not have been established, but she was looking to do the same. That's the value she said she brought, was to, help someone else with their business as well. Being that she is an entrepreneur and makes $100,000 a year. And, what he said to her was that the men who are making the money that she's looking for wouldn't be interested in her because of the way that she looked and because of her situation, being a single mother with a young son. And I thought that he kind of promoted the stereotype about how men choose to be in relationship with women, and basically it being about looks. And what we see as we're reading tonight's answers from the gentleman on question number 7 is none of them really mention looks. They mention some really deep intrinsic qualities. And the other thing I found interesting was that none of them really talked about money in a sense, which is what she was talking about. And I think that she just needed to be redirected in what she's looking for. Less than her expectation. That's what down means. So, and that's the other problem. Like her expectation was all around this one economic status. But as we look at the gentleman's answers, we realize that there's so much more to relationships and love. What she was talking about, as far as I'm concerned, is matchmaking. She wasn't talking about love because those things really don't play into it.
Mm-hmm.
So I was fired up about that. And like I had mentioned to you before the show, I was really unbothered by him saying to her that she was going to die alone because she was average looking at best, and because she had, she was a single mother with a child. As I shared with you before, there is not one of us who hasn't achieved what we wanted by lowering our expectations. I think that her expectation should remain the same, but she should be clearer on what love and relationship actually is.
Yeah, you shared that with me a couple of days ago, and I really thought that his response was perceived to be very harsh.
Mm-hmm.
And it's amazing how sometimes we could perceive it to be harsh, or like I may perceive that to be straight to the truth. Or a lot of times, and I listen to a lot of stuff the brother says, and it's interesting what he's trying to do and what he's trying to accomplish. I never try to tell someone, definitely at our age now, to lower their expectations. But it's amazing to me when I look at people when they talk about relationships, they'll always talk about their expectations in the mate that they're looking for, but they never talk about the expectations that they bring to the table. They never share like, this is what I'm bringing to the table, so I need somebody that's gonna match me, or match my energy, or match my drive, match my focus. Match if I think I look good, I want them to look good too.
Exactly.
You could be a type of, like a female could be a type of female that she's, as we would say, well groomed, always going to the salon, always getting her nails done. She may want her man to have a manicure, get a pedicure every now and then,
right.
Be well groomed. It's
Mm-hmm.
always, unfortunately, in our culture now, it's always more of a financial compatibility instead of all the other things. Like both of you guys could be making a certain amount of money, but this one could be super domesticated, love to cook, love to do this, and then this one, because of them chasing that quote unquote dream, not know how to cook, always want to take their clothes, all their clothes, to go to the cleaners. Instead of you got some people that just love to iron their clothes, love to press their clothes, put their clothes out at night and lay their clothes out, and say, you know what, I like what I'm wearing. If I look good, I feel good. I feel good,
yes,
I'm gonna perform
good.
And it's crazy because, like you said, we're at a point in the book where you ask that question. about when guys know they're ready to commit, and it's like no one said financial, no one said looks, and I think that one brother he got into it when he said the conversation is just right. He said it's just clicks, it's a vibe
It's a
that like
vibe.
you ready to move forward with this person. Um, and then another brother, and I can't remember exactly who said it, explained how you need to get some things out first. You need to find out the little things about I like to sleep on the right side of the bed, or I like
Yeah.
to sleep on the left side of the bed. And usually what happens in our society is that we this is why the divorce rates are so high up with marriages, because some of us are not compatible. I
And we
mean,
haven't had the conversations to know that.
exactly. Those conversations just be like surface conversations in the beginning. So
Surface
it's
conversations in the beginning.
very interesting. Very interesting. So I see that my brother, Kevin, he said, Let's table this question." And then you never got back to him. He kind of avoided it, and I know that he spoke about some things in the back of the book, in the back of his chapter that was interesting. But he never fully
Finding it.
he never fully got into the rest of the question. He avoided you. You let him get
He,
away.
he totally got away from that question, and I didn't press him because I think I had interviewed maybe 5 or 6 gentlemen before him.
Hmm.
And I realized that in some cases it did appear to be a difficult question for the gentleman to answer. And it does appear that some of them were evasive in their responses, even though they do indicate what some of the qualities or some of the things that happen that let them know it's time to commit. And what I got from the answers is that a man knows when it's time to commit based on how he feels about that woman. And that's not something that's easy to articulate.
Yeah.
It's not something that's easy to articulate. And if you're forward looking and you're talking about like how would I know when it's time to commit to a woman, it's difficult to think about that in the future. It's usually when you're with that woman and she brings to you that feeling, as Dr. Reverend said, and I really love what he said. Dr. Reverend said, it's when you feel happy and when that woman is special to you, when you feel like she's a part of your family. It's a relationship that you don't want to let go of and you just never want it to end. Why you laugh?
because you know me.
Yes, monkey wrench.
I did take Matt from the door. Matt had me a little jacked up. Cause look, I'm gonna tell you what the brother said, right?
Tell me what he said.
And you can remember he said it's scary to make the jump because a lot of people don't want to make that mistake twice in a lifetime. Interesting point where he's at. I get it. It's scary to make that mistake and jump overboard. Basically, love is like what happens if you're on top of this cruise ship on the top deck. Love is jumping into that ocean. You know how hard that ship is to climb to the top, back to the boat? You know what I'm saying? What if there's a shark in that water and you don't see it until you actually jump off the boat? I love Matt's answer right there because Matt is like fully understanding, like, yo, it sounds good, but when you've been hurt or you've been in a situation before where you put yourself in a committed relationship, like some people will stay in what we call that safe zone. And it'll be like, I can't get in no committed relationship because, yo, I don't want to go through the rebuilding process of getting hurt.
Take
And
too much.
that's what he's talking about with that top deck of that cruise ship. I don't know a lot of people that if you ain't never been on a cruise ship, they're huge. I don't think TV. Look, I don't think TV. Unless you've been on it, I don't think it explains how big a cruise ship really is.
That's a
And
jump.
and it's a jump from the top deck, and it's like, you're scared, so now you set this barrier or this zone around you. Um, and a lot of
Quentin,
us do it. It's an amazing thing that Matt brought that up. And
Quentin, I recall the interview with him, and that interview was in person. And as he was explaining it to me, he was explaining it to me so sincerely that I could feel it. I could feel climbing to the top of a cruise ship. I could feel deciding to take that jump or take that plunge, as our elders might refer to it, and then getting in the water and not knowing where you are.
or a shark might be in there.
Or a shark
You
might be in
look,
there.
you could be the greatest swimmer in the world. You just be like, oh, I'm doing
And
it.
then when you decide, let's say that water is not your water,
Mm,
or let's say you want to get away from that shark. If you decide to get back on that cruise ship, the first level of a cruise ship is at least 8 stories to 10 stories high. That's
hmm
a climb. And
Yeah.
that's how we can feel sometimes when you're in relationship and it doesn't work out and you're hurt. You have to climb back. You have to work your way back to your level. And so it takes a lot. And then once you're there, someone else comes along while you're sitting in your chair, sipping on your pina colada, and they want you to take the jump again. It's like, nah, son, I'm good.
Yeah. And then you'll be like, and this is what happens is that you'll be good. You will give, or a person will give all of the benefits of being in a relationship without being in a quote unquote committed relationship.
Without being in a
Um,
committed
I,
relationship.
it's like Eric just said. So that fear, it paralyzes you.
Yes, absolutely.
It paralyzes to the point like, you know what? You know what? They get all the perks. I'm giving them all the perks, but you go your way, I go my way, and this is the parameters that I set because of that fear, and it's amazing because then you'll do this for a year, 2 years, 3 years, 10 years, 15 years,
With no
20
commitment.
with no commitment. I have a cousin and he always talks about regardless of what we may think, that's still a relationship. It's just a relationship without commitment, and it's like it's an amazing thing because you've established that understanding with that person, or you're allowing yourself to receive and get the perks of a committed relationship, and it's just like, I'm gonna just stay in this zone. But no, actually, you're in a committed relationship.
Y'all just talking for 10, for
Yeah,
10, 15 years. That's all y'all
yeah.
doing.
As we said last week, they just kicking it.
Just kicking it
Yeah.
with a little umbrella in the glass. One of the things, the there are plenty of people that are in situations like that, and I respect it. I'm not going to disrespect anybody's situation. I think that one of the things you miss, like we were talking about, is in last week, is the experiences that you can bring to your life. One of the things that Eric said in terms of knowing when it's time to commit to a woman was knowing what you want to do as a couple, knowing what you want to do as a couple, making decisions about what your future looks like, being on one accord, being together as one, working on determining goals and being successful in those goals together, um, being able to complement one another. You can't get all of that in the absence of a commitment. I can't see how it's possible. There's no commitment in itself entails responsibility and accountability. So if I don't have any responsibility or accountability to you, then I'm just enjoying your time.
Mm. And that was one of the things that the gentleman said is that one of the guys said basically it's about time. He said time that's relative to the amount of communication, that being presentations. And I thought it was interesting how he worded it, because we you tend to hear people when they talk about a past or ex is, oh, he wasted my time, or she wasted my time. And I think that some of the things that those relationships were based on weren't about the commitment. It was just like we always say, it was surface stuff. It was, okay, we're attracted to each other physically. We may have a chemistry that way, so it's all good. We'll work on everything else. Not knowing that he may be a terrible manager of money, and that could pull her down because she could be a manager of money. And you see that so on, is that it may be a physical attraction, but everything else is totally opposite.
Totally opposite. And like you're talking about Hermes, and one of the things that he was saying is that you want to know what you're committing to and who you are committing to, and that does take some time. It takes conversation and it takes time. Like he gave some extreme examples. He's like, if you don't know that someone has an abusive history and then they start like bonking you over your head, it's because that's what they do. But have you taken the time to know that, right? So he was talking about like really taking the time and getting to know who that person is. And he was saying very specifically that you get to know that by observing what a person says, and if they're consistent in doing what they said they will do, if they are who they say they are.
It's one of the things that in the show that I have with Sharon every other week with the teachers, and it speaks about this because you are an educator as well, is they're trying to get our younger kids nowadays, um, with math problems, to be able to use critical thinking, which to us is crazy because critical thinking is not something that should be taught in math. Math is absolute, so it's never going to change. Critical thinking needs to start at home, problem solving, and having those skills. So then, like he said, in the observation, the courtship, him or she should see how they deal with situations that go in their life. Some people when they're dating, they won't tell the person they're dating with about their child's mother. They'll keep it real. Oh, I'm gonna just focus this on me and that person, when they should really tell a person or be honest and transparent about everything that they're about and what's going on, so they can see how they handle situations. Because, like you said, if he has a past of being abusive, what, why she didn't see none of the telltale signs? Because everything was more of, they liked each other physically, they had chemistry, and that's all their relationship was. And then they decided, oh, let's move in together. Now you're seeing how he feels when he don't got a hot plate when he a hot plate when he come home.
Not even if they didn't know what they want, and they just exactly. One of the things that our gentleman said about knowing when it's time to commit has to do with being there for each other, respecting each other, respecting the relationship, having a great friendship, bonding. So there are so many things that go into or feed into making the decision to be in a committed relationship with someone on both sides, the man's side and the woman's side. And it's not the physical attraction or the economic standing or whatever it is. Those are surface level considerations. There are all these other things. Can I be with you now? Can I feel safe with you now? Can I enjoy my time with you now? And can we grow in the future together? These are my plans. Can we more transparent about the back? Absolutely.
I think
Absolutely.
that's paramount. I mean, one of the gentlemen said about vulnerability. it's interesting that I know a lot of males, and it's crazy what I'm about to say, but it's the truth.
Hmm.
They will tell you that, look, I could be vulnerable with a woman I'm not dealing with, but I can't be vulnerable with a woman that I'm in a relationship with. And I think that comes from being insecure because they think that they're vulnerable with a woman that they're in a relationship with. She'll use that as a tool against him, and that speaks of a trauma that he went through.
Absolutely. But again, it goes back to what most of our gentlemen said. It's a vibe and it's a feeling. If you're with a man that feels like he's safe to be with you and he's safe to share with you what's going on with you, then that might not be the case. If you're not presenting that, some people are also great impersonators. They show you who you think you want. Absolutely. And we talked about that in a prior episode. It was Lee in the book who talks about how when you're first meeting a person, how it's important not to tell them everything you want and everything you don't, because almost instinctively they will play that out, and that's not really who they are. So just give yourself time to observe who they are as opposed to telling them who they should be.
Yeah, very very interesting thing. One of also, Jules, I'd my boy Lee. I'm glad you brought him up. See, it was that energy. When you asked him the question, he said, "Well, I haven't known in the past 8 years. I can go back 10 years and let you know. Every woman I've ever been with, it was just the energy, the vibe, the being with her, the laughing, the joking around. You say to yourself, you know what? This might work. If you have a lot of interest together, if you like hanging out with this person, going to the movies, talking, just bonding with someone, I think it's beautiful. I think all of my relationships started first from communication. If I communicate with someone and hang out with them, and no pretense, just hang out naturally. I mean, just having fun with that person. I think that's what life is all about. I think people miss that, the fun part of it. People are so tight. They're so tight and strict. Oh, I can't do that because I have to go to church Sunday. Okay.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
So yeah, so Lee was on point.
Yes, he was.
And for those that's just joining us, well, I'm gonna reset this show. Just to give everybody that may be just joining us a glimpse of, I'm gonna show everybody Julia's introduction to the show, just so she speaks about what we do each week on the show and what we're talking about, and so forth and so on. Where's it at, Julia? I can't find it. I can't find it. Hold up. There we go. So after this little video presentation, we'll be right back.
Hello, welcome to Let's Talk Crown Rules with our host Quentin Ford and myself, Julia Dozier. I am the author of 2 books focused on the health and well-being of relationships within the Black community. My first published book, Crown Rules: One Woman's Journey to the Throne, is an explorative journey into the heart, mind, and soul of a woman. It is designed for the rebuilding of a woman's self-identity, her purpose, and her vision for her future. The book contains journaling exercises for her to document her transformation on her journey to the throne. The second edition will be available in 2021. My current book release, Crown Rules 2: How Black Men Love, is purposed to provide healing and restoration to the relationships we conduct within our race by establishing first and foremost that Black men do love. The book contains interviews held with 10 Black men at different ages and stages of their lives. They share the meaning, perspective, and their experience of love in their own words. Each week, Quentin and I look forward to discussing the book and one of the 13 questions asked of each man. And we invite you, our audience, to share your questions, your thoughts, your experience, and your wisdom as we journey through Black love. So sit back, relax, and let's talk Crown Rouge. Please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe.
And Helena said, it all depends if you meet the representative, and then 3 months later, the shit gets real.
Absolutely. And all of our gentlemen talk about that. That's why it takes time.
I mean, but I'm gonna ask you, and I know, I hope I'm not going off a subject, Julia. I mean, don't everybody introduce you to their representative?
Absolutely. I
I mean,
mean,
ain't nobody gonna be super transparent in the beginning, right?
listen, I'm not trying to shout anybody out, but working in business, I've had employees who had a 90-day probationary period. And in that 90-day probationary period, I have seen people do the best that they possibly can. And on that 91st day, when
Mm. They let it all hang out, literally.
production falling down.
Oh.
You have to be observant, and I think that's what Hermes shares with us is that you have to pay attention. You have to see, does a person live up to their word? Are they consistent? Do they do what they say they're going to do? Are you able to confirm that they say who they are? Because a lot of people will tell you that they are a particular person, but you need to be able to confirm that.
I mean, I mean this with all due respect to everybody in the chat, and I know that Nicole brought the issue back up about the representative, and I know that Helena and Eric has both responded. And I mean this with all due respect in the chat. Sometimes we be so crazy in our mess that we can see all the red flags and still go.
Still go.
We be like, I don't care. That's how he treat me. I don't care. That's how she treat me. You be like, still go. You be like, yo, shout out. Like he a little crazy. He got a little temper problem. She got a temper problem. Or I remember one time, right? I used to deliver furniture for a living. And we used to deliver a lot of furniture to people's homes and go there at certain times of the day and night. You go there and somebody be like, excuse the mess. And the house be looking crazy. I'm like, excuse the mess. You knew he was. I said to myself, excuse the mess. You knew he was coming. I mean, the delivery was like scheduled a week ahead of time. So, and I take nothing from a person that may have shortcomings in no area, but a lot of times we be so caught up in what we want physically, and how that person appeals to us, that now we start looking at those red flags, and now we trying to mold a grown person into what we want them to be.
I have been guilty of it myself, so I cannot criticize anyone. And sometimes it comes from, I think, feeling like we need to or have to be in a relationship. There's a lot of social pressure about being coupled up. Sometimes it's also about there are things within us that we need to address and work on. Exactly. There are things within us that we need to address and work on, but we may not know what those things are, or we haven't developed the courage to work on them, and so we satisfy them by keeping ourselves busy.
And Jules, this one of the things that I learned and about myself was dealing in this area is a lot of people have a fear of being alone. And this is why we're always trying to put the round peg to the square.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And we're trying to force it. And my experience of how can I say, being on them paid vacations by the state.
Yes.
It allowed you to learn to live and be alone. A lot of people may not get it, and you you learn how to have some type of solitude.
Yes.
So one of the things that I did is sometimes we go through experiences in life and then we leave the experience where they're at. Or even in an X situation, we'll be like, that was a bad situation. I'm gonna leave it where it's at. I don't want to take that baggage with you, but that baggage is still your reference. That
Mhm.
baggage is still your dictionary. When things go bad, you're like, and even though that individual may have brought this to the situation, what did I do? Let me bring my self accountability and self reflection to it. Okay, this is how I felt in that situation. So if I'm ever put in that situation again, why don't be caught up with the fear of being alone. And that goes to a lot of people why they stay in what we would consider, and I don't like to use the word toxic,
Situationships.
situationships that are very unhealthy, and will stay there and stay there and stay there and stay there and stay there because you're scared to be alone.
Scared to be alone, scared to communicate how you really feel, scared to communicate what you need, scared to walk away. Some people don't know how to walk away. You got to know how to walk away.
Eric said, "How can you be complete being only half of the equation?" You want to answer that, Jules, or you want me to answer that?
Sure, some people are not aware that they are not whole.
Hmm.
And sometimes it's only experiences that they have that let them know that something is missing. And usually if they're able, as Quentin said, to do that self-reflection and to do that to take that accountability and responsibility for healing when whatever needs to be healed, or adding whatever needs to be added to themselves, then they'll be able to develop that wholeness. But as Quentin also said, it's important to be able to take some time alone to yourself. You do not always have to be busy with trying to
Uh,
be coupled up.
one of the things that Eric said, like he asked the question, how can you be complete being only half of the equation? One of the things that I've learned is that through experience and talking to other people that have been married before, is that you are not half. You are whole.
Oh, there is
You
no
are
50.
you yeah, you are whole before you even get into the relationship. Most people that advise younger couples, they'll say you don't bring 50-50, you bring 100-100. So knowing that you're whole in the beginning will allow you to be whole during and after. It is not a pride thing. It's not to put the other person down. It's actually to get them to understand, like, look, we in this thing together. We both bringing 100% to the table, and not bring half to the table. So the biggest thing for me is understanding. Every day you got to bring the best version of
Bad,
yourself. You
bad.
got to bring the best version of yourself, regardless of what you go through. If you bring the best version of yourself, and I'm not trying to give nobody relationship advice because I cannot give advice. Definitely when it comes to relationships. Um, if you can't bring the best version of yourself every day or try to, um, it's a waste of your time.
To all of your relationships, not just your intimate relationship, but to all of your relationships. I just want to read something that Coleman stated to this question. He responded to this question on page 137. He said, "You and I both know people that have entered into relationships and they've ended up unsuccessful shortly thereafter for whatever reason.
Mm.
The most basic, honest, and true reasons is that they don't know themselves. It goes back to, how can I look for you when I'm still looking for myself? Until you find yourself, you can't commit to another person or commit to a relationship."
Could you read that again, please?
Yes, I can. These gentlemen in this book, I'm so grateful for them and their honesty. He said, You and I both know people that have entered relationships and they've ended up unsuccessful shortly thereafter for whatever reason. The most basic, honest, and true reason is that they didn't know themselves. It goes back to, how can I look for you when I'm still looking for myself? Until you find yourself, you cannot commit to another person or commit to a relationship. That soundboard.
I need you to read it, Julia. I need you to read it again. Third time is always a charm. What did Coleman
Um,
say?
and but before I read it again, I want to say that Coleman is a marriage counselor. So he sees, hears, and helps people with a lot. And this is what he's found. In response to this question, he said, you and I both know people that have entered relationships and they've ended up unsuccessful shortly thereafter for whatever reason. The most basic, honest, and true reason is that they didn't know themselves. It goes back to, how can I look for you when I am still looking for myself? Until you find yourself, you cannot commit to another person or commit to a relationship.
How many people can honestly say, let's just say 35. How many people at the age 35 really know who they are? Without prior to inflicting all that garbage they brought along the way. And they've been quote unquote unhealthy, been in and out of relationships from, let's say, 16. Let's say 16 when a person, or 15 when they truly understand or quote their quote
First
unquote
relationship.
first love. Now 19 years they've been just on this destructive path. Even may have gotten married, may have started a family, may have started multiple families, and they might not never know each other. Then they might get to the point where they're old and never knew who they were, never knew what type of person they were, because they were so concerned with, like you said, the social pressures of, I got to get married before I'm 25. I got to get, once I get my degrees and start my career, I got to start a family. The societal norms of all that pressure, and then they don't know themselves. So I really like Coleman's statement to the answer to that question, and he spoke well about, you got to know yourself. You got to know who you are as a person. What really makes you tick? What
What's
drives you?
important
What?
to you?
Yeah, because some people get on your nerves. You be in a relationship with somebody, they get on your nerves. You're like, oh, this person get on my nerves. I mean, and it don't even be about love. They be like, I love you, we together, but I don't like you.
I don't like you,
Yeah,
and I think when we're able to accept who we are, our positive attributes as well as any flaws that we think we may have. If you don't know yourself, how can you know what you want? That's my cousin Angie Stone. Hi, Angie Stone. Welcome.
Angie Stone, the singer.
No, Bronx girl, honey. Bronx girl. My cousin.
So,
Depends. I just got a
so she
handle
was
at
on
50.
TikTok. Woo,
Yes,
woo.
yes. Um, and it does depend. It depends on when you're ready to unpack. It depends on when you're ready to unpack everything that you've experienced.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Eric is right. He at his age, he said he feel he got a handle of it at 50,
At
and
50,
believe it or not, just to have that self awareness of knowing who you are is big,
priceless.
because then you won't, and I can speak from experience as well. You start caring about yourself, because there's a lot of us that care about other things more
Besides
than we care about
ourselves.
more ourselves. Exactly.
And that's the important thing, Quentin. Like, right, exactly. Once you get to know who you are, once you fall in love with yourself, once you get to appreciate you know, your strengths and your weaknesses and even your opportunities. And once you are clear on what your goals are, it makes it difficult to be in relationship with people who are not meeting who you believe yourself to be. And so I think that when we don't know who we are, we end up putting up with those situationships and doing everything doing everything that people do in relationships without the commitment when you don't know yourself. But when you know yourself and what you want and who you are and where you plan to go, you really don't have time for that.
So those in the chat, remember to like, share, subscribe. As Julia said, remember share this information. Tell people about what Julia and myself try to do every Thursday at 9 o'clock, and how we're going over her book, and how I won't say Julia is not qualified to talk about relationships. I don't think I'm qualified, so it allows me to share with the author of this fabulous book her research and her insight on relationships. And one thing that, at the least, this does, it allow two adults as well as the adults in the chat to have an open and honest discussion based upon these 13 questions that she asked these 10 different gentlemen. So even if you may be in a relationship or not, it allows just to conversate and to get different perspectives on it. Julia has a surprise for us next week. Next week's show, we're not going to go into question 8 because we have a surprise for next week. We asked that everybody tune in next week. Julia is going to have 2 of the gentlemen that were interviewed for the book on the show.
On the show.
So what we're going to try to do is we're going to try to stick to the questions to ask them 1 through 7, and most likely we'll probably ask them more questions. We want you guys that have the book to be able to ask these 2 gentlemen the questions, as well as, even if you don't have the book, to be able to ask them because I think that Julia being able to interview 10 guys, 13 different questions, was very unique. You usually see like little magazine, little op-eds do stuff like this, but she wrote a book about it. And for these guys to be so transparent in the book, like I say every week, and then to actually be able to come on the show, we need to allow these guys to feel comfortable with their honesty, to be comfortable in their manhood. A lot of the women may not understand that. To get a man to talk about feelings, love, emotion, commitment, relationship, Julia had to really, really make these guys feel comfortable, and then to put their stuff on paper. So with that, remember to like, share, and subscribe. What's so funny, Jules?
I just love all of this. I just love all of it. I'm excited. I'm excited for next week. I'm excited. Yeah, I'm excited for our show every time we get an opportunity. Quentin, I'm excited that we have 2 of the gentlemen that agreed to come on next week. And I'm just excited. I'm just hopeful that if there's anybody that we can get to think differently about what they're doing and to like really achieve their dreams, I'll be happy with that. I'm happy.
So we're gonna close out. You know what? Remember, you guys, to like, share, subscribe, and remember Julia's favorite thing.
You got that sun shining in the noonday, waves crashing upon the shore type love. You got that food cooking all day since morning, being on the plate at 6 p.m. in the evening type love. You got that fresh kicks laced just right, hoodie just so, smooth face, new car smell type love. You got that old soul, futuristic rhythm and blues, funkadelic, jazzy, boom, pat,
boom tap type love. You got that taste like chocolate, liquid gold like honey. You be making me full but still keeping me hungry with all that good type love. You got that spiritual cleansing type love. You be like white candles and sage, lavender and incense, smelling like the temples of India type love. You got that soothing type love. You be like massages all over my body. You just be rubbing my scalp and oiling my strands and pulling my hair type love. You got that turn down the lights and arch it just so, take it type love. And we be like co-star, director and producer in this bitch type love. You got that making me want to explore and discover how to be your best friend, your only lover, and our child's mother type love. You got that creators of our universe shooting comets across the sun, kissing upon the moon type love. You be like speaking my mind and touching every beat of my heart type love. It be like you are me and I am you, cannot tear us apart type love. We be like past, present, and future, and infinite type love.